Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way, here with another video, and today I'd like to talk about the possibility of vaccine passports in New Zealand, and applies to other places around the world, and how this affects using these sorts of things domestically in your own country. I mean, I can understand having to have a vaccine passport to travel because you're inside a a confined space inside an airplane. The air is recycled, so that I guess probably a bit more of a special situation. But if you're just out on the street and going shopping and stuff, how's this going to affect us in the long run? I do have quite a few reservations about this. Now, personally, I am a vaccine supporter. I've used vaccines many times in my life, things like the flu vaccine and getting vaccines when I was young as well for some of the diseases that have been almost wiped out from the planet. So I do believe that vaccines work, and if you haven't had a vaccine yet, I really encourage you to get one because it more than likely will save your life, because it will reduce the symptoms and severity if you do actually get COVID-19. Now, I don't agree that it should be mandated or that you should become a second-class citizen if you don't. I mean, it's your body, your choice. We've heard that term a lot before for other things. So, you do the research, make the decision for you. But I guess you will have to take some consequences if you do catch COVID. It might be a lot more severe than if you had the vaccine. So I do encourage you to get the vaccine. Have a think about it, please. It can save your life in the long run. So apparently, this article was on the 17th of September, so today is the 23rd of September, so not too long ago. And we hear this often, time and time again, come up in the news in New Zealand. So festival organisers want a clear instruction from the government about vaccine requirements as it works to release a vaccine passport in time for summer. The Ministry of Health and Customs are working on the government's vaccine passport, which will be able to confirm if the holder has been vaccinated. The tool was first floated to allow for international travel, but is likely to be used domestically as well. Restaurant owners are asking the government to make vaccine passports available for their industry, with almost 2 in 3 saying they see this as a tool for safer and steadier trading. Now let's just think about this for a minute, right? So you need a vaccine passport to, say, go to a concert, right? So an unvaccinated person who doesn't have a vaccine passport, they can't go. Now why is that? You just have a think about that while we carry on reading that. Why would an unvaccinated person cause a major risk to a vaccinated person? Let's carry on. Health experts say a vaccine passport with better contact tracing is New Zealand's best chance at controlling COVID-19 without reliance on broad lockdowns. But these digital tools come with their own concerns. Used domestically, vaccine passports empower discrimination against the unvaccinated, potentially blocking their access to events, venues and businesses. Some worry about giving too much personal information to the government. Well, personally, I don't want to give all of my information to the government either. I don't want them to be able to track where I've been and so on using this vaccine passport thing. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but why would I want to give the government any more information about me than I should? Now, in New Zealand, the number of unvaccinated tends to be more in the minority and poorer parts of the New Zealand population. So let's just have a think about this for a minute. So if we start to discriminate people who are unvaccinated, you're going to start discriminating people who are from minority groups, minority ethnicities as well, and people in poverty, poorer parts of the population as well. Do we really want to go down that road in New Zealand? We have a bad enough time as it is with race relations and so on. So I don't think we really want to go down that way either. Another thing is, having had a vaccine or not is actually part of the health of your body. And in New Zealand, it's by law, you're not allowed to ask for anyone's health records or gain access to them without permission from someone. So basically, a vaccine passport, I mean, it is to do with your health. So unless it's actually legislated by the New Zealand government to make it that anyone can ask for it, at the moment, I could say no, and you can't do anything about it. I guess you could refuse me to go into your store or go to your concert or whatever because I haven't proved my vaccine level. So I guess that could be done. But strictly speaking, you cannot ask for my personal health information in New Zealand. So let's have a look. Emeritus Professor Des Gorman, a medical expert, says New Zealand's current legislation will effectively force businesses to ask for proof of vaccination. I think it's inevitable, but I think the public needs to be engaged in this process. You'll find a lot of people won't be engaged in this process because we appreciate our right to privacy. The Health and Safety at Work Act requires employers to take all practical steps to keep their employees safe from harm. How could they claim to be doing that if they're allowing unvaccinated people onto the premises? Again, let's go back to this thought. How is an unvaccinated person going to cause a problem to a vaccinated person? We'll come back to that again nearer to the end of this article. As soon as something like vaccination passport is easily accessible, he says, there will be little excuse under the current legislation for businesses not to require proof of vaccination if that meant keeping their staff safe. Well, actually, you're going to have to change the health laws and the privacy laws to allow you to do that because it's restricted material. I'm not a lawyer, just my own opinion. All right, so get that off the bat. How vaccine passports work offshore, I'm not going to go into that. Let's just skip over that part. So New Zealand's vaccination passport. New Zealand will be using similar technology to what's used in Europe, says the Ministry of Health's Manager of National Digital Services, Michael Dreyer. One thing to note, the UK has dropped their plans to produce a vaccine passport because they don't see any need for it. So there we go. He says a new tool, which they're calling My COVID Record, will allow users to easily prove that they've been vaccinated, hopefully by the end of the year. So think about this for a minute as well. You're going to have to carry this vaccine passport around with you, which will be an electronic app or something. But remember, there will be people who don't have a mobile phone or something, kind of the older population, or even some younger children might not have a phone as well. So they're probably going to have to carry around some papers with them to prove that they've been vaccinated if this goes through. So we'll come back to that point a bit later on as well. The ministry, I'm building up to something and you'll see why. So the ministry is working on an app so people can prove if they've been vaccinated. But Dre says there'll also be an option to present a printed certificate. So there we go. So they're calling it a certificate rather than papers. So just keep that in mind. These will most likely be in form of a QR code that can be scanned and verified by local and foreign jurisdictions. Yeah, as if a QR code cannot be photocopied from someone else or something. I don't know how that's going to work. So if you scan the QR code and then it comes up with a name, do you then have to prove that you're the person that this QR code belongs to for your vaccine passport if you've got a printed version? I wonder how that's going to work as well. So restaurant owners say that the government should give them the ability to check for vaccine passports of customers. In a restaurant association survey, 65% of respondents said they want to be able to use the vaccine passport domestically. However, 30% said they do not support the introduction of vaccine passports for local use. Restaurant Association boss Marisa Biroir says there are some concerns how businesses will use a vaccine passport system, if that could create division or staff leaving, facing a backlash from customers who don't agree with the checks. Yeah, what are you going to do with customers who don't agree to be checked by the people at the business and so on? So it goes on to talk more about festivals waiting the government advice and so on. So I'm not going on to that. What I want to do is bring us back to a couple of points I said before, that you are going to carry around this vaccine passport or a printed version of it, right? And what do the restaurant industry want to do? Well, basically they want to have someone standing at the door, possibly in some form of uniform maybe, and as you come up to them, they'll go, "Papers, please." Have you heard that? Have you heard that saying before? So some of you younger people, if any younger people are watching this video, so that saying, "Papers, please," was a very common saying back in the late 1930s and early 1940s by a certain group of people who took over some countries in Europe, basically conquered them. So I'm talking about the Second World War here. And basically the population, if they wanted to go to certain places and so on, they had to produce their papers. And if you didn't have your papers with you, you are in deep shit. All right, maybe you might have lost your life if that didn't happen. Obviously that's not going to happen here, but that's where we're heading to, right? We're heading to some sort of fascist state where you got to produce your papers if you want to go anywhere. Papers, please. That's the saying. So that's what gives me really a concern, right? If you are vaccinated, you have nothing to fear from an unvaccinated person because you're vaccinated. My God. Right? So yes, the unvaccinated person might have COVID, but the whole purpose of the vaccine is that it will hopefully stop you from getting it. Now, it does have an efficacy for that. It will prevent you catching it sometimes, but not all the time. And then if you do catch it, it will severely limit the severity of the outcomes of the virus, so that you don't get really sick or anything and you don't get hospitalized. So you don't have anything to fear from an unvaccinated person. The only people that need to fear are the unvaccinated people against everyone else, because vaccinated people can also transmit the virus. All right, there has been no research that has said that a vaccinated person cannot transmit the virus, right? There's no discussion about it. There's no documentation on the internet. In fact, you do have a chance of transmitting the virus if you're vaccinated. So you can still get the virus if you're vaccinated, but it will mean that you don't die. So that's why you should be getting the virus. But you should have nothing to fear from an unvaccinated person, right? Let them have the same rights as everyone else. They're the ones that are going to get extremely sick and they could possibly die. That's their choice. They've made their informed decision of what they want to do. There is no need for a vaccine passport in New Zealand. Maybe if you have to travel overseas, other countries require it, I can understand that. But we don't need to discriminate between people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated, and then it's going to lead to a whole bunch of other problems as well. So anyway, that's my take on vaccine passports. They're not needed because as a vaccinated person, you have nothing to fear from an unvaccinated person. Anyway, hopefully you liked this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my content, and if you like what I do, and if you have any comments to make, then please feel free to make them in the comments section and I'll reply, and I will see you next time. Alright, that's it from me. I will catch you next time.